Welcome back, everyone, to another action-packed episode of Pig's Ear in Review here at the Tojo Dojo, one of the places where we're talking about what we've been playing. And this week, we've been playing a lot, not just watching things, believe it or not. So,
There's too many goddamn games.
I know, it's getting fucking ridiculous lately. But, so I'm Myshtuff, joined by Riku Rose. And today, we got a few things we're going to be chatting about. So, we're going to be talking about first Like a Dragon Ishin, and then I'm going to be talking about a couple of demos I played that are more recent as well, and then I'll talk about Signalis, a game that I finished recently. But yeah, let's just kick off right with Like a Dragon Ishin, if you want to take us away to start with.
Yeah, you've been playing it as well, though, so don't put yourself down here.
I'm not finished with it yet either, though, so I think I'm like about halfway through, roughly.
Yeah, so we've been waiting for this game. What was it? It came out like probably about 10 years ago now.
Okay, I was trying to remember. I probably should have looked this up before we started. But was it Kenzen or Ishin? Was technically the first
Kenzen.
PS3? Okay, yeah, Kenzen was the first PS3 one.
Yeah, this is the PS4 to. No, this was on. I want to say this was on PS3 and PS4.
Yeah, I actually still have the Japanese copy on PS3. Actually.
Yeah, because this was around the time of Yakuza 0.
Yeah, not too long around it. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they decided to bring this one out first. I've heard all kinds of rumors as to why, like the content of Kenzen and whatnot. But the point is, this is the one we've got, and they've remade it in Unreal Engine 4 or 5, one of them.
You know, really quick, since you mentioned that actually stuck out to me because all the other recent games have been in that like Dragon Engine or whatever, right?
Yeah. Which is one of my first things I find a bit weird about this.
Mm-hmm.
Is so in Japan they're calling this Ishin Kiwami.
Yeah.
Right, which is because it's remade.
Right.
But when they remade Yakuza 1 and Yakuza 2 with Kiwami 1 and Kiwami 2, they made it feel more like the more recent games.
Exactly. Yep.
Whereas this one still feels like when it came out, like that Yakuza 0 type time.
Yeah.
Which is weird because that was my first thought. Like, you get into a fight or whatever and you're playing it, and it just felt a little clunkier, which I'm fine with. It doesn't bother me that much at the end of the day. I just found it a bit weird that they've remade this game but kept some of the stuff they've improved over the years.
Yeah, exactly. Because like I didn't really notice that Unreal Engine thing at first. Like I know it appears in the opening credits or whatever, but I usually don't pay attention to that stuff. But about like an hour into the game, I kind of had that realization as well. I'm like, this sort of feels different for some reason, and then it clicked. Like, oh, it's not the same engine anymore for some reason.
It definitely feels older, and I don't think I would point that out as much if it was literally they just brought the game over as is and hadn't made such a deal about the fact that it was like a remake.
Yep.
And it kind of makes it feel a little pointless that they remade it from the ground up.
Well, but I guess the other thing to clarify for anyone who hasn't been a long time Yakuza fan like we have, this game was only in Japan, so it is also being translated for the first time as well, which in itself I think is pretty cool. But to be fair to what you just said as well, yeah, it still feels like an older Yakuza game as well.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about this before, like the burnout of Yakuza games. This feels slightly different because it is more a period piece than the other Yakuza games, but it still has the same mechanics. You're still doing your wacky side stories. The battle system, although like there's instead of like brawler and things like that, there's more like, oh, this time you're using a sword, this time you're using a gun. And you posted the Danny DeVito meme in our Discord.
Dude, I am shooting everyone. Leave it to the American to go to the gun method and just start shooting everyone, I guess. But
I did that, and I'm like, why? This just feels really pointless because you're just going through everyone.
Just
like, I didn't really use the gun until like the first what do you call it? It's not like a dungeon, but the first where you're like running through a building, right? And like
Yeah,
enemies
yeah.
are in every room, right? But they're
Hmm.
always down the end of a hallway to begin
Hmm.
with. I just
Right.
shot them.
Yeah,
They just
and that's the
didn't
thing.
get punched once.
Right, and the thing to quickly explain about that style is when you have the gun, at least the gun on its own style, you can shoot through two different means. You have one button that has just unlimited ammo, which is the other
Yeah,
thing. It's like a standard ammo, and you can just keep hammering it over and over. And then there's another button for like special ammo that does like effects and damage and stuff
yeah, be
like
like a
that. And
fire bullet, and the guy catches on fire once you shot him.
yeah, and that's limited, or you can craft it or whatever with other side stuff. But the regular ammo, you could just keep blasting over and over and over and over again. And one of the other styles is I'm assuming everyone probably uses this style. It's like the dancing one or whatever it's called, where
Where
you have
it's
a
the sword
sword.
and the gun.
Yeah, exactly, and
I've
you're
not
kind
been
of doing
using that one.
both. Really? Oh man, I'm more often than not using that one, I would
No, I've
say.
just been more using the sword on its own.
Yeah, I mean, there's I think I've only been in one fight where it forces you to do one of the styles, but normally you can. I think you can do whatever you want in any
Well,
fight, if I'm not mistaken.
there's a boss fight where you're fighting a ninja. This isn't spoilers, right? Don't worry. Like,
Mm,
I'm not going to say anything crazy. But you're
mhm.
fighting a ninja, and he obviously has a sword.
Yeah.
And he was quite far away, and I tried switching to the gun, and he just
Hmm.
came in and he messed me the fuck up.
Hmm.
And like
Yeah.
I couldn't even stand, like, because he was like, "Yep, you're exposed. I'm going in for you." So I was like, "Well," and quickly changed back to the sword.
Yeah, exactly. And like the other styles, I think are fine, but I think the one of the other criticisms, or I shouldn't say it's a criticism, but like this is something I've noticed with some of these games as well, where they want to give you the options of trying the different styles, but at
Yeah.
times I'm like, is this really needed? Can you just narrow this down to like two styles and we'll get it over with? I
I
don't
always
know.
preferred the series when you had one style.
Yeah,
Honestly,
it just seems more focused, I guess.
I think it was Yakuza 0 the first time, right? Well, I guess like Yakuza 4 when they started introducing multiple characters,
Hmm.
right? But I think Yakuza 0 was the first time where they were like, here you can be either a brawler or like
Hmm.
speedy or like,
Yeah,
a mix of both, right?
right.
And I don't know about you, but after a while, once you level up enough, I just leveled up that brawler one to the point where I was going in like a bear, and it
Just
didn't
fucking
matter if,
just
yeah,
beating everyone.
I had such a big health bar that it didn't matter people were hitting me
Yeah,
because I was doing so much damage, and it kind of breaks the game.
a little bit. It
Yeah.
does.
Whereas when you have one fighting style, the entire game can be structured to that one style,
Hmm.
and you can build around that. Whereas every boss fight, you've got to be like, right, we got to assume they might use this fighting style. They might use that fighting style. How is that going to fight? Like compare against that, and it ends up feeling just disjointed. I think we're too far gone at this point. They're going to keep it, but
Potentially, but I guess, and I think this also comes back to some of the criticisms of other games I've had recently, where like too much choice is a bad thing. At least
mm,
for me, it is. Maybe some people like that variety, and I guess that's great. And if you only want to use one style for the most part, I guess you can theoretically just keep doing that, kind of like what you're saying. But yeah, it kind of takes the focus off of it, and it almost feels like it's yeah, it's just doing too much at times. So and then I think the other message I put in our chat the other day was like, there's how you upgrade your skills. It like confused me for a second. So it's like a skill tree type of thing,
yeah,
and you get like these orbs, but then you can get like different color orbs to like swap out to sort of like take the place for a little while so you can keep customizing it, and that like threw me off for a second. And I get it now what it's trying to do, but it was like, why it just seems overly complicated for
yeah. I
no
don't like
reason.
leveling up four different fighting styles because you're always
Yeah.
like either really underpowered in one, overpowered in one another. Because this is it. I'm like, right, I'm mostly using the sword, so I'm just going to level that up because why would I
Yeah.
level up the stuff I'm not using? And
Hmm.
then you get in a fight that kind of forces you to use the other style,
Hmm.
and you're like, oh fuck, like I
Yeah,
should have leveled this
exactly.
up.
So, I mean, other than that, though, I mean, I guess not to sound like we're just shitting on the game there by any
No,
means, but I guess in a nutshell, though, as far as the story goes, it's someone gets killed, you're essentially framed for it, and you have to go away.
it's
And
a classic Yakuza style
right,
story, isn't it? Where you're trying to find out the conspiracy of what's going on.
Essentially, yeah. And so, but what's cool though is you are in old Japan, like Kyoto, essentially kind of area. So it looks, I mean, it's a cool, different style setting. I mean, that's the one thing that's really nice, and that's why, like I always say, Yakuza 3 is one of my favorites because it's a very unique Okinawa setting compared to all the other games, which are like Tokyo and Kyoto or Osaka,
Very
like over and
grey.
over. So, but with this one, obviously, it's a very old style, what 1800s or seven, whenever it takes place, I can't remember, but so it looks different, which is great. And the other cool thing about this being a remake compared to the original version is all because the whole gimmick with this is that it's your familiar Yakuza characters taking place of like presumably real people, from what I understand. I'm not like 100% sure, but with this remake, since the original one came out, obviously more Yakuza games have come out with newer people in that universe,
Yeah.
and they put those people into this game. Like they swapped them out because I think in the original one they were probably just a couple of just generic people or whatever. But now they use like actual Yakuza characters, which is pretty cool too. So.
I think they might have actually been actors. I might
Oh,
be
okay.
misremembering. They probably didn't have the rights for them anymore or something.
That could
And
be it
at the end of
too.
the
Yeah.
day, people are probably they're also like people would be more excited if they see Zhao. You know?
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, it is nice that they have this wider cast of characters they can keep pulling from. Some of which we haven't seen, like what's his face from Yakuza 2. Is
Oh,
it
Ryuji or
Ryoji or Goji
I'm
or
trying to
something?
remember his name in Yakuza because they've all got different names as well. That's what throws me
Right.
off
Yeah, it's not
because
like Kiryu is the main character, obviously.
yeah, because they're like, oh, who sent you? And it's like, oh yeah, this person sent me. I'm like, no, it was Akinoa.
Yeah, what? Wait, what do you mean? So obviously it takes a little getting used to there. But I mean, the reason why they picked some of these characters is because I guess, they display those kinds of characteristics. Like they're not gonna have the person who should be Kiryu start acting like Majima and like vice versa.
Yeah.
Like that would be weird. So they at least exhibit the same
Yeah,
characteristics,
like
which
your
is funny.
informants are your informant from like the original series,
Hmm.
etc., etc.
Yeah,
But
exactly. So yeah,
I am enjoying it. It's here's the thing: at the end of the day, we kind of do this show mainly just to chat.
yeah.
but at the end of the day, we kind of have to say whether I recommended anything.
Hmm.
I would only recommend this if you're a fan of the series.
Hmm.
Which, not being funny, you're gonna know already whether you want to play this or not. I'm sure
Hmm.
we're gonna see lots of people because the Yakuza or Like a Dragon series, whatever you want to call it now, is a very daunting series to get into in this day and age.
There's so
There is a
many.
lot of games, and I
Hmm.
know you're going to see those comments that say, "Oh well, play Like a Dragon Ishin.
Hmm.
It's not connected to the other games."
Yeah.
And because it is a little older and a little clunkier, I wouldn't suggest that.
Hmm.
I still would suggest like, hey, like go play Yakuza 0, go
Right.
from there. Just just because you're getting your foot feet more into the series from there. This is very much I don't want to call it like fan servicey.
That's literally what I was going to say. I think, for better or worse, this was made because of fan service, because people requested it for so many. Sorry,
Yeah.
fans requested it for so many years. It's not like the general public was clamoring for this thing.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's it. I'm not gonna say like go play this right now if you've never played a Yakuza game,
Hmm.
but if you're into the Yakuza series, even if you're like, you know what, I just finished Yakuza 3, I want a bit of a break before I play Yakuza 4.
Hmm.
Like you could slot into this, like I think that would be pretty pretty fair if you still want to play the same game mechanic but want a bit of a break from the regular story.
Yeah, you can play this at any point amongst any of the games because it is disconnected. It doesn't have anything to do. I mean, it's almost like a fan fiction game of like we
Mm.
took these characters and just put them in some other goofy setting, which is
Hmm.
to be honest, that part I think is fun. It would be nice if they did that again, but maybe some other completely different genre after the next Yakuza game is something new. I think that could be a fun thing potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're trying to get into this for the first time, this series, yeah, like you're saying, Yakuza 0, or the more recent, the seventh one with Ichi, like that was a completely like a refresh of sorts as well, you could say.
I
So
wouldn't suggest that one first, just because towards the end it really does start tying into the past games, and
I
that
guess,
stuff wouldn't hit as
yeah,
much if you've not played the others.
I mean, I see what you're
Right.
saying.
Let me get go off a tangent here, right?
Please.
Anytime a new game comes out, right? God of War Ragnarok, right?
Hmm.
Horizon Forbidden West. I always see these comments online that are like, "Can I play this without having played the other game?"
Mm.
And I'm like, we don't live in that age anymore where you've got to like go pull out your PS1 to
Yeah.
like to play like Metal Gear Solid 1 before Metal Gear Solid 4, right?
Yeah.
We don't like nearly everything's like available in some way or another
Sure.
nowadays, right? Don't go spend $70 on the newer game when you can spend $5 on the first in the series and find out if you like it.
Sure. Sure.
I don't get that. Like that's it. Horizon Forbidden West. Oh, do I need to play the first game? You know what? Play Horizon is just out there for like $10 these days. Just play
I,
that one.
I will say I agree with you for games of the last maybe 5 to 10 years. I think if you go earlier than that, you do run into situations where maybe the old ones just don't hold up anymore, and it could
Hmm.
maybe taint your experience. But at that point, though, if you don't like it that maybe an original version of a game, then maybe you might not want to play it. But like okay, like maybe to put it a different way, like you've been playing the Resident Evil remakes recently,
Yeah.
and you've said you've liked them, but if you would have started playing like the original ones, do you think that would have tainted your experience to where you would never want to touch them again?
Maybe. I mean, I've not played them, so I don't. It's tough to say.
Yeah, that's
You
fair.
know,
That's fair.
I can talk about like Silent Hill, for example. I played the
Okay,
first one for an hour, and I was like, "This is clunky as shit," and put it
sure.
down.
Hmm.
um, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
get
know,
what you
but
mean, though. I do get what you mean. So
yeah, I'm talking about very specific. Like, you can buy the entire Yakuza series now for like $30.
right, no, that's a good point,
Yeah,
especially now that they are modern, remade, and stuff like that as well. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good
yeah.
point. Um,
All right.
yeah, so I'm kind
But
of the same way. Where, like I said, I'm roughly halfway through it as well. But I think, like we said before, we kind of know what we're in for, even if we don't know the outcome of the story. Like it's another Yakuza game, and for better or worse, that is what it is. I am, of course, going to finish it. I am having a good time as well, but it's certainly not groundbreaking, and it does feel it's not fan servicing necessarily in a bad way, but like I said a minute ago, this is why it exists. People who were fans of the series, who always wanted it translated, were asking for this, and here it is. I mean, it is what it
yeah,
is. So,
I'd give it a thumbs up. It's not a
hmm
bad game.
yeah,
I'd say it's great so far.
hmm yeah,
Don't think it's groundbreaking,
yeah.
but it's above good. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I'm pretty much the same way as well. I mean, I'm enjoying it so far. But okay, so out of curiosity, what if they were to? I know there's obviously like a couple more mainline games, that are in the works as they've announced. But if they were to announce like not just Kenzin, but like the Black Panther games, or even Dead Souls being ported with like a remaster, would those excite you at this point?
Excite me? No. Would I play them? Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way.
Yeah, like I'm kind of at the point now with a lot of stuff where I don't really get excited about, and that's
You're just an old man now.
no, but like I mean more like movies and games and
No,
stuff. Because I
I
legit turned to my wife the other day and was like, "Oh, is there any movies coming up you're excited for?" And she was like, "Not really." I was like, "What?" And she was like,
really.
"There's nothing like movie wise. I don't." I'm excited for the Mario movie, but like
Yesterday, Scream 6 came out. I haven't watched it yet. Apparently, it's getting great reviews. Stay tuned for a review of that once I go see
yeah,
that. But I mean, I don't say I can't say I'm quite there yet. It's certainly it takes a lot more to get me excited. I
mm,
think, but as I said already, like with episodes we've had this year already, I've been playing some really solid, like great games. Funny enough, a lot of them are remakes or remasters. But
but like, look at Zelda, right? I
yeah,
love Zelda. It's one of my favorite series ever,
sure,
right? But I look at the trailers for that, and I go, I'm gonna have a great time with that. I know it. I know
sure,
what I'm in for.
yeah.
Am I like screaming and like waiting for the FedEx man with excitement? No, not
Give
really.
it to me. I mean, so you're looking more for that surprise, like a new experience type of thing, I
I
guess.
think there's very few announcements now that could make me go, oh, sort of like when Shenmue 3 was announced or like Final Fantasy 7
Oh,
Remake,
how naive we were.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I will say last year the Silent Hill announcement got me super pumped. That was the most recent example I could think of. Like, damn, they aren't just coming back with one, but they got like 8 things in the works right now, which could be overkill. But
But that's the thing as well. I'm also just like, why does everything need to come back, and why does
no,
everything
that's
need
fair.
sequels as well? Because it's
Yeah,
like there's always rumors of like Uncharted coming back, and I love Uncharted, but I'm like, we don't
sure.
need another one. Make something new.
Yeah.
Make something new.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's a balance, so I get it. I get it. But yeah,
Oh,
definitely check out the game. I also give it a thumbs up. It might be for you. If you've played these games, you're probably going to like them, and if not, there's probably a good chance you can still like it, but you just may not be, super excited for it necessarily either. So, all
okay.
right.
Over to
So,
you
but
then.
so before going into the full game, I was going to mention I played a couple demos recently of some recent stuff. So the first one I'll mention it was actually from about a few weeks ago. So I think everyone unanimously watched that Sony State of Play and went, "This was a hot pile of garbage." Like,
Yeah, I don't. Nothing was really announced, and then the Suicide Squad thing happened, and everyone went, "Well, that looks awful."
yeah, they spent like 15 minutes on it, and they literally just announced the other day they've delayed it again. So, I mean, not that.
To just quickly go over that, right?
Yeah, go for it.
You have Captain Boomerang, the Shark guy, Harley
Mm-hmm.
Quinn, Deadshot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you give them all the same move sets. Now, I
Yeah,
thought that would be a fun game, and even if it's co-op, which I'm not like that fussed about, but my
sure.
thinking would be like, right, you're King Shark, right? Pull all the damage. I'm gonna be Captain Boomerang, like from a mid distance, throwing stuff and
Sure.
attacking the people. Harley Quinn's gonna go in and do the close damage. Someone else is
Yeah,
gonna be dead shot up in a
it's a
tower
team.
somewhere, right? They all have the same moves and they all do the same thing. Captain Boomerang doesn't use his boomerang; he uses a gun.
So is he Captain Gun?
But you know that Avengers game that came out?
Yeah. Mm,
So it's like Iron Man 4, Captain America.
right.
Imagine if that, like, game had all of them just using jetpacks and guns.
That would be terrible. I mean, the game was
Right.
apparently also already terrible, but
Yeah, but
yeah, that would
Thor
just
not
make it
using his
worse.
hammer or Captain America using his shield, you
Yeah,
know?
like what's the point at that point? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that game looked like garbage, but yeah, that state of play was just all around hot garbage. However, I will say, I mean, I think they showed some Resident Evil footage, which was whatever, that was fine. There was something though about that did stick out to me, which is what I'm going to briefly talk about. So there's a demo or a trailer that they released, and then a demo just like a week or two ago that they released for a game called Humanity.
Mhm.
And even though they announced it on that state of play, it's coming to PC as well. And not only was there a demo just to try it normally, but there was a VR demo. Like it's a VR game and
Mhm.
2D. You can do it either way. And so since I have the Oculus Rift S on my PC, I'm like, oh, let me try out this VR demo really quick. And it was really fun. If for anyone who doesn't remember it, just really quickly, it's a puzzle game essentially, but
It's like a dog telling people, like, go for a light.
essentially, yes. I mean, really, it's a simple concept of you have point A and point B, and you need to direct. There's like an endless stream of people walking, and you just have to direct them to the end point. But the way you do that is through various obstacles and jumping and stuff like that. And yeah, you're like this little dog that like guides them and gives them directions. And at first, it's like, okay, how hard could that possibly be? And at first, it's like a really easy level, just point A to point B. But then, as you could imagine, the more you play it, with harder and harder levels, you have to have them go through like specific patterns, like jump over each other,
So is
teleport.
this like a modern Lemmings?
Kind of, yeah, essentially.
Yeah.
But what's cool about it, because it's VR, is it's really funny. You're essentially looking down at them as if they're on top of like these giant skyscrapers, essentially. And what's cool about being in VR is you're like this. You're looking down at it like this towering
Mhm.
figure, so you can like rotate it and control it and like go in and out. And I just thought it was just neat to play. Like it's fun to play normally as well, but the VR mode just not no pun intended
Yeah.
added another dimension.
I don't know if you ever played it, but your description just there made me really want a VR version of Black and White.
I never played it, but I know what it is though. But yeah,
Yeah, I used to love that game. Yeah, give me a
hmm
VR. Peter Molyneux, stop like selling blockchain stuff,
yeah,
man.
exactly. Yeah, seriously. And it just, I think what it also reminded me of is like an old PS1 Dreamcast style puzzle game, and I mean that in a good way, not in an outdated way, but just like the visuals. It kind of has this like futuristic arcadey kind of look to it, and it's just you just keep playing more and more levels. And the other cool part is users can generate their own levels as well, so people could make all kinds of crazy shit for it too. So I think it comes out maybe in a month or something on both PlayStation as well as PC. And given that it's on PC now, I'll at some point later this year I'll pick it up once this next wave of games comes out and I finish them.
Maybe
but
2025.
Yeah, I'll add it to the backlog for then. But yeah, it was just a really cool demo. Unfortunately, it was a timed demo, so you actually can't play it anymore, which I freaking hate it when companies do that shit. I don't really get why that's still a thing, but apparently it is.
Once the product's out, they don't want people still playing it, I guess.
I guess, but at least make it available till then. Like, I don't know why it was literally only available for like 3 days.
I wonder if it's a social media thing. Get everyone talking about it.
Yeah, probably.
All at the same time, so like trends or something.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. So, at this point now, you'll have to wait till it comes out. But it was a fun demo. I'll most likely pick it up at some point. So it was just cool. It kind of took me by surprise. I didn't really have anything like going into it thinking what it would be. And I was like, okay, well, this is pretty fun. So definitely thumbs up for that one. But the other more recent demo, though, that just came out, which, funny enough, actually, the previous Resident Evil remake demos were timed, but for this Resident Evil 4 remake demo, it is not timed. You can do it as many times as you want. So you haven't played it yet, have you?
No, because we're at the point that I'm still playing so much stuff at the moment as well.
Yeah.
And the game's like 2 weeks out. I know I'm
Right.
going to buy it. The only way I probably would have played this demo is if it was like, it's the first hour or two and you can carry your save over.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't really want to play the opening segment that I'm going to play again in a week.
Yeah. Yeah, so this demo just came out, I think it was maybe yesterday or 2 days ago, and it's only a 20-minute demo. It's nothing crazy. It is towards the beginning of the game, but it's like a really small part, basically, right in the beginning. I mean, the only thing I can really have to say, well, there's a couple things. One is it's great. Like, it's Resident Evil 4, one of the greatest games ever made, and and all the other. I mean, you've been playing the other remakes. You've said you've enjoyed them, so it's more of that. So hopefully, that's not going to disappoint anyone. It's just more good Resident Evil remake, which is awesome. It plays really great. They modernize a few things that obviously make it easier to play. But the thing that I do want to bring up is, if you recall, a few months ago when some of the first trailers started coming out, or however long ago it was, I made a very clear statement in our group chat, which is if they did one thing, then it would be an instant pre-order for me. And they did it in this demo, which is at the end of this demo, you're in this the early part of the game where you're kind of getting overwhelmed by a bunch of enemies. And then all of a sudden something happens and they start disappearing. And in the original game, as well as this remake, it's the classic line where Leon looks around and goes, "Where's everyone at? Bingo?" And it's the most stupid, campy line, and they kept it in, but this time in 4K, 60 FPS, glorious high definition. It was great.
What if the actual game comes out and it ends there?
I would be pissed. I would return the game. Because, that's the thing with Resident Evil 4. The kind of the point I originally made was, I hope it doesn't lose the campiness, because that's what makes that original one so special. And, Resident Evil in general. And my hope was that they weren't going to make this some super serious, dark, gritty drama or whatever. I mean, there's aspects of it, of course, but the campiness to me is what makes Resident Evil 4 special. And so, at least from this demo, they kept one of the most iconic lines from that game in, so that makes me feel hopeful that they're not going to ruin it.
10 out of 10 then?
Absolutely. I mean, I knew I was going to love it anyways. I already pre-ordered it, but that one was yes, they're listening to the fans on this one. They kept the line. So, but yeah, that one is not a timed demo, so you can play it as much as you want. Before the game comes out. So yeah, for anyone who hasn't played it yet, it's a fun, just 20-minute little snippet, and it's great. It's Resident Evil 4.
I'm sure, I'm at the point now where I'm I'm gonna just buy it probably day one again and play it.
Yeah.
I don't need the demo to convince me. If there was nothing else coming out or out at the moment, I probably would have downloaded the demo. But
The main reason why, I mean, I'm pretty much the same way, but the reason why I did want to download it actually is as you know, I got a new computer and I wanted to test it out. I'm like, oh, let me see how this plays on the new computer, and so I downloaded it just to kind of test the computer at like super high settings just to see how it looks. And yeah, it looks great. It looks wonderful. So it was fun to try it for that reason as well. So.
You could just play it on PlayStation. You don't have to update your drivers.
But they're all updated. It's all good to go. I don't have to do any more updating.
You try to play the game one day and it's like cannot boot because
right, it just explodes.
3000.
For now, I think I'm good.
You go, right, gotta Google how to make this work.
Yeah, seriously. Fun. Fortunately, I haven't had too many of those problems in recent years, but yes, it does happen every once in a while. Welcome to being a PC gaming
I've still not
now.
played a game on my new PC. I spent a lot of money on it, and I've still not played a game on it.
But hey, it looks great, doesn't it?
Part of me wants to go to my grave refusing still, even though I have a gaming PC.
Just on principle alone. Yeah. Oh fuck! So yeah,
kids are crying. Can we please play it, Dad? I'm like,
no, we have PlayStation. So yeah, great time. Highly recommend. Yeah. Okay, so then the last thing I'll talk about is another game I actually finished called Signalis, which actually came out towards the end of last year, but I was waiting to play it because a physical edition finally came out a couple weeks ago, and I got it on the Switch for only like $25 or something like that, and I was kind of shocked at how cheap it was. I don't know, maybe if I just got lucky or if it was like an initial sale or something, but yeah, it was, $25 or something like that. But it's a horror game of sorts in the sense of like, it kind of has that old style Resident Evil Silent Hill style where it's like the puzzle solving, kind of collecting items to open, weird keys and stuff like that. And then there isn't a limited amount of saves like the original Resident Evil, but it's very much like you have a save room with like a box that if you put stuff in the one box, it'll appear in the other save room. So like that kind of old style, like survival horror type of game. But instead of being like the PS1 graphic style, it's still like isometric, but it's very much like a 2D 0.5D like anime art style, I guess I'll call it, like cyberpunk sort of style as well. Okay. And like I would have to like show you a picture of it, but it's not. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
this is a trick to get me to look at your anime collection.
Look, one of these days I'm gonna convince you. Don't worry. There's time. It's okay. I'm trying to think if there's another game that I've played that is in this style, but like, yeah, the best way I can describe it is it's almost like not Metroid, but it's not like a 2D game where it's literally 2D. It's like I said, it is isometric and you're exploring different levels and stuff, but it's not. I don't really know what else to compare it to. To be honest, it is very unique, I guess.
We're in the world of HD 2D now as well. Like that's
yeah.
Square Enix's kind of nickname. I don't know if it'd fall under that category. I've not seen this game.
So. Maybe. I mean, it's not like it's pixelated, like a pixel style game either. No. But I know what you mean by that. But it's maybe that's the closest I could think of, I guess.
Yeah. I think people need to get past genres as well.
Oh, I agree. Yeah.
Because I've seen this before for many things where people like argue like Metroid Prime isn't a first-person shooter; it's a first-person adventure game, and I'm like, yeah, you seen any boobs recently?
Well, funny enough, that debate happened when Half-Life came out because a lot of people were saying, "Oh, it's a first-person shooter," and other people say, "No, it's like an RPG first-person adventure," and it's like, who gives a shit?
Well, we were playing Like a Dragon, Ishin.
Yeah.
And you're swinging a sword and numbers are coming out of people, you know, sort of like RPG style and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't think genres, it's not like movies now, where even certain movies you can say, oh, it's a comedy and a drama.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a thriller and a horror.
Right.
And we're kind of getting to, it's ridiculous in a lot of games now where you're like, it's a third-person shooter adventure RPG. Which... you can probably list some games that would fit that category.
Yeah, that is a true statement, but it becomes stupid at that point.
I mean, there is an argument to be made that Madden is an RPG.
Yeah, I mean, there's
you
skills
get
that you can grow and
upgrade stats and
hmm
pick your party and things like that. And I just think people kind of need to get past it at this point because it
yeah.
doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So I think what's interesting with this one is I think in a very good way it blends a bunch of different genres because, like I said, it's that old survival horror, but at the same time, there's a blending of visual styles. And actually, now that I say that, I guess I haven't even talked about what this is. So let me step back for a second. Really, at the end of the day, it's you're this character who's kind of like a android sort of worker in like not a factory per se, but like you're essentially a labor worker that humans made and you're doing various tasks and then things don't go great and you essentially have to escape from this facility essentially, and along the way you're of course learning that there's other androids and like there's some weird nefarious shit happening, things aren't as it seems. Like I just don't want to spoil anything too much, but like I said, it's a survival horror game. Really, you're managing your resources, trying to escape, solving puzzles, all that sort of stuff. But interestingly, even though everything I just said about the visual and play style is hard to define, whatever, there are certain segments of the game where you like reach end of levels where it actually does shift into like a PS1 style first person uh, Silent Hill esque kind of visual style. So it actually does switch
Yeah.
back and forth a couple of times, but very rarely of the latter of what I just said.
Okay.
So it's neat in that sense. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's a if you've played a Resident Evil Silent Hill old style game, it's just that essentially. So you're trying to escape around enemies and solve puzzles. I will say the story it started out interesting, but I feel like it was one of those situations where they tried to craft some like very meaningful art house type of narrative, and it kind of came off like they're sniffing their own farts a little bit at the end.
Mm,
Like if that makes sense, where like
yeah.
they were trying to make some interesting statements, but they didn't quite land for me. And it's not even it's hard to describe too because they tried to do it in a very visual sense, which I think could have been great, but they they took the stance of like they're flashing up random words in the middle of cutscenes and it's trying to get you to evoke some feeling, and I'm like, I don't even know what it's doing half the time. It's just it,
I'm not a
didn't
fan of
stick.
art house horror at
It's
all
hit or miss for me.
because I feel like with horror, it's got to make me feel uncomfortable. Like I always say, the
Yeah,
Twilight Zone is one of the scariest shows.
sure.
More because not the images on screen, but it leaves you with that sick feeling in your stomach
Yeah,
of like, oh, imagine if that happened.
exactly. That's the type of horror that I'm very much in line that it resonates with me as well. And with this game, I will say it kind of gave me the same feelings as like watching The Thing, like with John Carpenter, where you're
Hmm.
like very isolated. There's some paranoia happening. You kind of have to get out. So I will say the setting and the art style was cool. I really did like it, but it was just the story it was trying to tell. I feel like it almost like didn't even have a story at some points because it was so vague in what it was trying to tell you. So I'm not saying that's the worst thing in the world because it was more like the atmosphere I think was more interesting than the story, but it
Mm.
would have been nice to have like an actual like more concrete story to follow, I guess, and more of like a conclusion. I mean, it has one, but I feel like you could imply like 1,000 different things, and it just like didn't land for me, unfortunately. So that being said, though, I think it was a really cool game. Once again, the art style was cool, the mechanics were neat. You're managing your resources. It wasn't like overly difficult. I mean, I think I had to look at a walkthrough maybe a handful of times for some like really weird
Oh, you're not a
puzzles,
true
but
gamer then.
yeah, look, man, I've given up that card a long time ago. I'm an old man now. I'm just trying to play some games and have a good
Yeah.
time. I don't need those trophies anymore. It's okay. Um,
It's so easy now. That's the issue as well. You can just look on your phone.
yeah,
Whereas back in the day, you'd be like, right, go power up the PC in the other room.
get the walkthrough guide if there is
Yeah,
one.
it was such an effort to like cheat that you were like, no, I'm gonna
Hmm.
figure this out myself.
And to be fair, I do still try my best to do that, and more often than not, I will power through something. But the problem is with I will say with these types of like old survival horror style games or inspired by that is sometimes the puzzles. Like, I'm
Oh
sure in
yeah.
the designer's mind, they thought, like, oh, this is going to be super intuitive. They'll get it clearly if they just follow the clues. But then maybe I'm just a dumbass, I guess. I'll look at this and I'm like, I have no fucking clue what this puzzle is.
Yeah.
Like, I have no idea. And then, of course, even after I will say there were one or two puzzles in this game that even after looking them up, I'm like, I get what you were going for, but there's no way in hell most people would look at this and be like, oh, this is the logical solution. It's just too obtuse at that point, in my mind at least. So, but for what it's worth, though, like I said, it's still a good game. I would recommend Signalis. I played it on the Switch, but I think it's on PlayStation and PC, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe Xbox. I can't remember. But it's a cool game. I think it took me like 9 hours to beat, so it wasn't like super long. It was a nice. I've been playing a couple of shorter games lately before I started Ishin, which was nice, and a quick palate cleanser from my 46 hours of Marvel Midnight Sun. So it was a nice little break, and then it was a nice palate cleanser from Metroid, which for anyone who watched last time wasn't exactly my most favorite game, but yeah, I'd recommend Signalis. It's a cool survival horror game. Even if you didn't play those old survival horror games, I think it's a nice like interesting take on the genre that isn't like, oh, another PS1 Silent Hill clone type of thing. Like, no, this is kind of its own thing, and I would be really interested to see what they come up with after this. I think it's I don't know if it's the studio's first game. If I'm maybe it is, but I don't even remember the name of the studio. But I'd be interested to see what else they come up with because whether it's this style or something else, like it's a very creative team. So I had a good time playing it. I'll say so. I would give it a thumbs up.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, so yeah, Like a Dragon and Signalis definitely both thumbs up. Humanity, Resident Evil 4 demo, thumbs up. So we're continuing the train of this year of
Thumbs
lots of
up
good
across
stuff
the
coming out.
board.
Yeah, there's some great stuff. I'm really excited, and yeah, if anyone has played any of these games or demos, definitely let us know. And I'm assuming since you've been playing the other Resident Evils, like you said, you're going to be pre-ordering Resident Evil 4. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks when that comes out, we'll be
Yeah,
both playing that as well.
I'm sure we will be.
Yes. All right. So take it easy, everyone. And until next time, see you then.
Bye.